must say what a great pleasure it is to be here tonight with all these great speakers, and also with such a good audience. And it's such a show of solidarity from around the world. And I looked at the chat at the beginning at where people had come from. We've got people from Havana, we've got people all over Britain, all over the United States, we've got people all over Europe and in the Middle East. So it's a fantastic feeling, this sense that we're all together and we're all putting the same message out here tonight. And I think it's the most important message, because as it's already been said, this conflict is hidden in the British media, it's hidden in the United States media, it's hidden in all those medias, because they do not want to tell the truth about what is happening. And I feel very, very strongly that we have had a year now of this dreadful pandemic, which has affected people around the world. We've had a situation where nearly a year ago, the United Nations called for a world ceasefire so we would not have the continuing conflict like we're seeing still in Yemen. And that has been ignored by successive governments. And we are now in the throes of all sorts of conflict. And Yemen, as Apsana says, is the worst humanitarian disaster, the worst war that is going on in the world at the moment. And I think, if you look at the figures, 250,000 dead, 80% of the people dependent on aid. If you look at the dangers of famine caused by blockade, if you look at the dangers of disease, we worry about COVID in countries like Britain, quite rightly, because we have the highest death rate in the world per head of population because of the mismanagement and corruption and rottenness of our government. But if you look at what is happening in Yemen, they don't even know the scale of this, because the ability to deal with health problems as well as to deal with the war is so difficult for people there. So this is about solidarity tonight, but it's also about saying, why is this war allowed to continue? It's allowed to continue because the British government, the United States governments, the European governments, these are people who are sustaining the Saudi regime in its bombing and in its bloody war against the people of Yemen. That is what is going on. If you look at the British government alone, the British government relies more and more on arms sales as a means of sustaining its economy, as a means of sustaining its place in the world as it sees it, as a means of doing all these sorts of things. The British government alone during this war has had arms sales to Saudi Arabia worth £15 billion. This is the kind of money that we are talking about, and it is an obscenity. And when you look, it's not just military advisors. The people from the RAF are in the control rooms with the Saudis, actually advising them where is the best place to bomb, how do you go about bombing, these kind of things. There is nothing that can be defended about this in the slightest, and every one of us here in Britain and across the world should be protesting about this kind of thing. So I think it's very, very important just to say, firstly, to our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, to Joe Biden, who's just come into office in the United States and who has promised that he will bring an end to this war, this has to be done immediately. And it isn't just about the immediate issues, it's also about the role of empire in the world. It's about the way the United States, Britain, and the European powers still think they have the right to intervene in the Middle East, to intervene in Africa, to intervene in all sorts of places in order to further their economic and military interests. We say enough is enough. So solidarity to everybody who's here, solidarity to the people of Yemen, and let's keep fighting, let's keep organising until we end this war.